The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everybody, and thank you for attending the ArcGIS Indoors webinar. My name is Ann Jacob. I'm one of the partner managers in the National Government Office in DC. With me, I have Bo Rick, Account Executive, and Will Isley, Product Manager. Both will be delivering the presentations and demonstrations today. This webinar is offered as part of our Federal System Integrator Enablement Program and the Federal System Business Specialty Program. We'll be offering many different additional sessions throughout the year as well. In this webinar, you'll learn about ArcGIS Indoors and how it's transforming the way workplaces operate. We'll also review the Indoors products components and share some integration patterns. So we'll save a few minutes at the end to answer questions. However, during the webinar, you can put questions into the question chat window as well. To do that, click on that orange arrow at top. It'll expand out and you'll see the questions section. You just put your questions in there and we'll answer those at the end. And oh, by the way, this webinar will be recorded. So let's get started. I'll turn it over to my colleague, Bo. Take it away, Bo.
Hey, thanks, Ann. Awesome. And yeah, thanks again, everyone, for joining us. I think it's really exciting. We're gonna talk about how ArcGIS Indoors is supporting smart workplace operations, and then I'm gonna turn things over to Will, who is gonna talk about ArcGIS Indoors product components and some of the integration patterns. So hopefully that's interesting for you all. I want to get started talking about smart workplace operations, though, and this will hopefully provide you some context for why these applications exist and how they're used in real life before we dive into the technicalities of how they work and how we want to integrate with other systems in order to expand their reach into smart workplaces. So without further ado, I just kind of want to introduce some context here. What we've learned by working with organizations over the last few years in the development of ArcGIS Indoors is that they have a significant need for managing and allocating resources that are indoors. They've been using ArcGIS to do that for their outdoor resources for a while now, and they've been wanting to take these same capabilities of knowing where things are and being able to share information and use that to better manage and allocate those resources indoors as well. Particularly because these resources typically make up over 80% of their organizational overhead. And that makes sense because one of an organization's most important resources are their humans, right? And they typically reside indoors. So this is really important for them to be able to know how people are interacting with their physical and fixed assets and the condition of those assets in order to keep the workplace functional for the folks that are carrying out work on their site on a daily basis. Currently, the process that they use is a kind of disconnected process of connecting CAD data, Excel sheets, paper reports, and emails in order to manage these resources. And the National Institute of Science and Technology found that, they did some research into the capital facilities industry and found that this process of connecting these disconnected sources of information for workplace and facility management actually costs an organization about 33 cents per square foot per year. Which is a significant investment they're making when we're talking about organizations that are operating out of, large sites that are, 2, 5, 10, even 15 or 20 million square feet on a particular campus, and sometimes upwards of 30, 40, 50, 60 million across their portfolio. And that's on top of the investment they're already making in those resources. So anything we can do to optimize this process of understanding and then acting in order to better manage and allocate these resources across the workplace is going to be extremely helpful to these organizations. Now, that's why we've built ArcGIS Indoors. Ultimately, it is for the, at first creating that common operating picture so that everyone knows where things are across the workplace. This helps an organization have a fundamental understanding of their workplace and then use that to better improve service delivery as well as monitor real-time data in that context in order to maintain continuity of operations. So this is the crux of ArcGIS Indoors, and we deliver these capabilities to anyone who comes on site, whether you're an employee, a visitor, a contractor who's coming on site to do work. You can have access to these resources in order to understand where things are and share that the location of where those things are with anyone across your organization. We do have some tools that help streamline the creation of that common operating picture, and I'm not going to steal Will's thunder by demonstrating how it works yet, but I will tell you that this helps create that. The tools we've created at the desktop level help create this common operating picture by automating the process of going from a DWG or DGN file into our Indoors information model. This will allow organizations to better plan and allocate resources for accessibility and utilization rates across their portfolio. And of course, once you are working from that common operating picture, you actually have the ability to improve service delivery by using mobile applications, enabling everyone across the organization to use mobile applications to share in real-time indoor data, accurate indoor data that's integrated with spatial information about that location, whether it's the building or the floor or the unit. You have the ability to integrate this information to a particular location in a workplace in order to deliver that information to operators who may need to respond and provide service or maintenance to that location. So we're helping organizations not only create that common operating picture, but then maintain and service it throughout its life cycle. And finally, we also have the ability to monitor real-time data streams and simply identify information about the space that those streams or the context that that data is within in order to identify gaps in resources and quickly respond to those or potentially incidents that may threaten the safety or security of those occupants. So with that is just a brief introduction to the ArcGIS Indoors system and kind of why people are interested in it, how people are benefiting from it right now. I'm now going to turn it over to Will Isley, the product manager of ArcGIS Indoors, who's going to go into detail on the different product components. So I will turn the presentation over to you, Will.
Thanks, Bo. Let me just share my screen here real quick. Can you see my screen okay?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Will Isley. I'm the product manager for ArcGIS Indoors, and it is my pleasure to tell you that as of 2 weeks ago today, we have had the first release of ArcGIS Indoors, and so now it's publicly available for sale. So what did we release? Let me get my slides to move forward. So at the first release, some of the initial capabilities that we are offering, the first is the ability to do indoor data curation and map making. So this is taking your CAD drawings, building a geodatabase with the ArcGIS Indoors information model and populating it to build floor plans. And then from those floor plans within the geodatabase, you can actually make indoor maps supported in the ArcGIS platform. We also provided tools that can support auto-generating indoor routable networks. We also provided a web and mobile wayfinding application, and the mobile version of that wayfinding application supports interfacing with indoor positioning systems such that we can show users where they are on an indoor map through showing them a blue dot on that map. And for users that opt into this, we support device tracking. So for your organizational users that are involved in operations that need to have their locations known to support dispatching or other workflows, they can be tracked and plotted on a map of where they are, and then a historical analysis can be done about where they've been. In addition to that, organizational users can share their location with other users by sending a smart link that will smart launch ArcGIS Indoors to their location on the map and then tell them exactly where they are so they can be found. ArcGIS Indoors is a complete indoor mapping system, and at the heart of that system is an information model we developed. We call it the Indoors Information Model. It's a data model in the geodatabase that manages the storage of floor plan information, points of interest, and an indoor routable network. ArcGIS Indoors also provides an add-in to ArcGIS Pro that supports curating CAD data into this information model. So it will create the data model for you. It will help you map data between the CAD drawings and then load them into the information model and then automatically generate an indoor network. In addition to that, ArcGIS Indoors offers a web application that supports indoor wayfinding, incident reporting, and location sharing. ArcGIS Indoors also offers a native mobile application that runs on iOS and Android that does a lot of the same capabilities and a few more, one of which is the ability to interface with indoor positioning systems so you can show a user where they are on an indoor map by putting a blue dot on the screen. And if you marry this system up with data from work order systems, asset management systems, or incident management systems, you can build a common operating picture map of your organization's operations and facilitate doing work in the operations and doing spatial analysis against it. So let's talk a little bit about the ArcGIS Indoors information model. So it is an information model in the geodatabase. One of the things it models is the floor plan, and this floor plan has a hierarchy nature to it, and you see on the right that the elements that are involved in that hierarchy. Now, this information model isn't an information model that requires a special extension to use. These are just simple feature classes. So we support at the site level modeling the site or the campus of an organization, and then we can go down to the facility or building of an organization, down to the level of an organization, and the hierarchy moves all the way down to the office or unit. And again, I just want to make it clear, these are just simple feature classes. A facility is just a polygon feature. A office is just a polygon feature that you can read with anything that supports reading a feature class in the ArcGIS platform. We also support an indoor routable network in this information model that's auto-generated from the tools that are provided with ArcGIS Indoors. This routable network is just a network analyst network data set that's understood natively by network analysts. There's no special ArcGIS Indoors components required for network analysts to be able to do routing against this network. What's special about ArcGIS Indoors is that it can auto-generate this network based on your floor plans. We also model points of interest, which are the points that you want to support doing wayfinding to, whether that's a kitchen, an office, a person. All you need to do is load up this feature class with the locations that you want to be able to route to, and you can support doing that. We also model organizational events. So you can have calendar events for your organization that you want your owners, users, occupants, visitors to be able to find and navigate to. This could be an HR seminar, a benefits fair, a training event that you really search through a calendar more than you do a location. In addition to that, we also model tracking zones. And as I mentioned earlier, ArcGIS Indoors does support device tracking. And so with defining tracking zones, your administrators can define where they want to track users and where they do not. So if your organization only wants to track users on the organizational campus, then you can specify that. And if there's only certain sections in the organizational campus that you want to have tracking take place, you can specify at that level of granularity as well. So as I mentioned, ArcGIS Indoors does offer a web application that runs in two different modes. One mode this application runs in is a kiosk mode, which offers a touchscreen experience that can be run from either a tablet device or a touchscreen monitor that can be mounted at a reception area. And this is to support your visitor users to find their way around and find things. It has bigger buttons to support a touchscreen experience, and it can be used by visitors or occupants. But this application also runs in a different mode that's more suited to a mouse or a touchscreen keypad, and it runs on a computer, and that's what the bottom screenshot there is that you're seeing. So this application offers textual searching of locations. So if you know the name of something that you're looking for, either indoor or outdoor, you can search for it. That could be like the name of an office or the name of a person. But if you don't know the exact name of what you're looking for, you just are looking for something generic like a restroom or a first aid kit or a defibrillator, there's a way you can navigate configurable categories to find the closest bathroom, for instance. In addition to that, once you find these locations, you can indoor route to them through this application. And this application also supports integration with Survey123 in a manner that allows you to report incidents at a specific indoor or outdoor location on that feature. There's a little button that's called 311. You push it, and it launches Survey123 and pre-populates it with attributes. Now, this particular component is important because it's related to one of the integration patterns I'm going to go to in a bit. But before I do that, I'll demonstrate it to you. So don't worry if you don't quite grasp it yet. We also have the ability to email locations. So if you're in a specific office or a conference room and you want to tell a colleague where to meet you, you can email a link to them of your current location from within this application, and it's a link that will allow you to smart launch this application so they can see on the map where you are. The app supports favorites and histories. You can think of favorites like bookmarks of locations that you frequently go to, and history is just remembering your searches. This application also supports anonymous use, and that's important if you want to publish this application outside your firewall to non-organizational users so they can do wayfinding around your campus. And you can configure the data sets that are public to be different from the ones that the organization uses. So if there's some areas of your campus you don't want to expose to visitors, that's absolutely possible. In addition to that, the application supports organizational branding, so you can change the color scheme, and you can also change the logo that appears in it so you can brand it to your organization. It supports simple web printing, so if you're at the kiosk and you get some directions, and they're pretty elaborate directions, you can print them out to paper if you want to. And this application, as you can see from the screenshots, not only supports 2D mapping, but it also supports 3D mapping and navigation. So our mobile applications that run on iOS and Android support many of the same capabilities as the web application, but they support a few more. One of which is the ability to select from a list of maps that are published out to that user type. Some of the maps that you might want to publish include occupancy maps or safety and security maps, evacuation route maps, or simple wayfinding maps. You might want to have different maps that expose different level of information for different users. It supports interfacing with indoor positioning systems, so you can provide a blue dot on the screen to show the user where they are indoor or outdoor. It supports device tracking, so if these users using the device opt in to being tracked, they can be tracked to support organizational workflows, and this will support the organization knowing where certain users are to support dispatching and other operational work. In addition to that, it can actually interface with the device's native calendar, and if there's appointments on that calendar that have indoor locations, you can use that as a mean to find out where those indoor locations are and how long it's going to take you to get to them. And it can do the same thing for the organizational calendar in the Indoors model I mentioned before. Now, I mentioned that this application can support interfacing with indoor positioning systems, and there's a few different technologies that are supported with regard to indoor positioning. The first of which ArcGIS Indoors supports is interfacing with Bluetooth beacon-based indoor positionings that support the iBeacon protocol. Now, Bluetooth-based positioning is more accurate than the other approaches that are supported. The nuance there, though, is that you do have to invest in Bluetooth beacons and place them throughout your organization to support being located through Bluetooth. But it is more accurate, unless you already, of course, have Bluetooth beacons. The other positioning technology we support is interfacing with Wi-Fi systems and wireless access points to do indoor positioning. Now, this approach can leverage existing hardware infrastructure that your organization may have, but it's less accurate. And then we also support GPS positioning. So if users are moving between buildings, we can tell the user where they are between buildings and within the buildings. But you don't need to have an indoor positioning system to use the mobile application. It works without it. There's just a couple nuances in the user experience when you do routing that you do have to say exactly where you are. So with that, let me give you some demonstrations of ArcGIS Indoors. I think it's important to see the applications and how they work and what they do so that we can set the foundation to talk about how you can actually integrate with them. And so the first one we're going to show you here is the kiosk. And the workflow we're going to show you with our kiosk application. This is actually a video that was taken on the iPad. And oh, by the way, we recorded these videos because what you're going to see me jump from an iPad using the kiosk to a desktop using the browser version of this application on a PC, to moving to a mobile device, to moving to ArcGIS Pro. So it's more seamless to show through videos rather than live demo. We recorded these a few days ago. So this is the kiosk. Let's say we have a visitor to an organization. This visitor is here for a couple reasons, one of which is there's a seminar that they need to attend. The other is that they actually have a meeting with a partner in a building that they've never been to. And so they've just arrived at the kiosk, and the first thing they want to do is find the closest restroom, because it's been a long drive to get to this location, and they just want to know where the restroom's at. So to do that, they're actually going to click the Explore button on the bottom left-hand corner. And when they do that, you can see there's a list of configurable categories that this organization's created, and they're going to click the Restroom button, and it's actually going to list for them the closest restrooms to them in order of proximity. They're going to click the top one. It'll give them a graphic on the map of where the restroom is. And you can see it's right around the corner from the stairway. They just couldn't see it, but this map obviously tells them where it's at so they can find it. The next thing they want to do is find out where their event is. So they're going to click the bottom right-hand corner where it says Events and get the organizational calendar for the day. And you can see the telecommunications partner seminar is the one that they want to attend. So they're going to click that button, and it's going to navigate them to there on the map and also give them a bit of details about that location. If they click the Directions button, you can see it'll give them a route to that location. You can see it's good that it's actually in the same building, that it's just right around the corner. So the directions aren't too elaborate. They know how to get there. Now they need to search for the conference room that they're going to go to talk to the business partner. And they're going to search for by the name of the conference room, which is OA3 South. And you can see it's doing IntelliSense I type. And there's the conference room right there. And you can see it's on the 3rd floor in a different building. And you can see the floor picker at the top of the screen that's allowing you to select between different floors. And now we're just going to get directions to this from where we are. And you can see it's going to give us cross-campus directions on how to get there. And then we can actually click on the different portions of the route to see where the exit is, where the entrance is to the next building, where the stairway is to get up there, and then our final destination at the end of it. Now, the kiosk application is not only a 2D application, it's also a 3D application. So if we click that 3D button there that you see on the screen, we'll actually transition the screen over to be a 3D view of this map. And then you can see the route in 3D now. We'll change the orientation of the map so we can get a better vantage point. We're looking at only the 3rd floor at the current moment. And you can see the route actually goes down the stairs. And you can see there's other buildings, but we're only looking at the interior of one building at a time. We just turned on all the floors, so you can see all the floors now. That's what that top right-hand corner button does. And now you can see we don't have a good vantage point here, so let's use the rotation button to get a better vantage point. It's just a navigation experience tool that makes it easier to move around. And we can click features on the map and actually get information about them. And so here you see we clicked on that conference room to get details about that conference room. But now let's pan away and show you how you would actually take the exterior off a building to look at the interior. So if we pan back, and then let's click the top left-hand corner building. And when we do that, it's not only going to take the cover off of it, it'll navigate us there. And then we'll use the floor picker to move it to just the 1st floor to take a look at where we currently were. And you can see the level of detail on the map. It's pretty detailed. You can even see doorway openings. And then there's the auditorium where our meeting is at. So we better make sure we get there early. We thought it was a conference room, but it's an auditorium. So we're going to have to get there earlier to get good seating. And then you can see the different orientations there. So now let's transition workflows away from the visitor that's actually on site to actually an occupant user of this organization that's actually hosting that meeting that I mentioned before. Let's say that meeting is now taking place, and that organizational host of that meeting is actually running into audio video equipment, and it's preventing him from holding the meeting with this customer. And it's a pretty high visibility meeting. So he wants to get immediate support from IST, the information system group. And so he's going to call them and tell them he needs immediate support to send the closest technician to come help him figure out this audio video equipment issue so they can move the meeting forward. And so for that, we're going to transition to the same application that we just showed, but the PC version of it that is actually being used by the IST manager that needs to dispatch the closest technician. Now, what you're seeing on the map is the locations of the technicians, because they've opted into device tracking, and they're currently serving incidents in various parts of the organization. So let me start the video. And what this user is going to do is he's going to search for the location of that conference room so he can figure out which of these technicians is closest. So he does that, brings him there to the map to the conference room where the issue is happening, and he's going to pan back to see, who's the closest to that particular location. And it looks like it's William Isley, that technician. So what he's going to do is he's actually going to share this location to him by sending him an email link of the location. So here you can see the email link is pre-populated, and he's now providing the email address, and then we'll change the subject to put the name of the location and just send it to this technician. So then the email's off to the technician so he knows where to go. And now from here, we'll switch over to the workflow of being the actual technician. The technician's received the email, and now he wants to navigate to that location to service the ticket. So there's the email that he received on his device. He clicks it, and it actually smart matches him to that location. And this is on the native version of the app. Now he clicks the directions button, and you can see it gives him turn-by-turn routing directions. And I'm going to pause the video here for just a second because it quickly gave him routing directions on how to get there from where he currently is. But how the application knows where he currently is because there's a blue dot on the screen right here at the bottom that it tells the user where he currently is on the map. And the reason this application knows this is because it's interfacing with a Bluetooth beacon-based indoor positioning system. And so it drew a route on the map, and actually it's having him take the stairways on how to get there because the actual final destination is on the 3rd floor, and he's actually on the 1st. And so you can see the final destination 3rd floor picker right there. So let's push play. And you can see that there's turn-by-turn walking directions on how to get there, and you can see that the stairway is explicitly called out. And then if we start navigation, you can see we can walk through the various segments of the route as we navigate. There we're taking the stairs, and then finally to our final destination, the conference room. Now this is walking directions, but we also support wheelchair-based directions, which will actually use the elevator and ADA ramps. And you can see when we did that, it actually switched the route to the elevator and now calls out using the elevator instead. So in addition to routing, there's a lot of the capabilities are very similar to what I showed you in the previous 2 applications. One of the features that is unique to this one is that it'll interface with your organization's, it'll interface with your device's calendar. And so in this case, the organization, whenever they tell a technician that they have work to do in the day, what they do is they schedule it on their calendar. And then you can see that they have their day planned out for them hour by hour with the locations they need to stop at. And so they can click these various locations because the appointments have the location names in them. And I can actually show you where they are. So here we're just clicking a couple of them to show you that the map navigation over to these incidents. Okay, so now let's go back to the final location where we're actually servicing the incident we were actually called to service in the first place. Let's click on the location itself to get some information about it. And let me pause it again for a second. So you can see one of the things that's available when you click a location is this 311 button. Now this is important because it's part of the story on how you integrate with ArcGIS Indoors. This 311 button, right now this application is configured to launch Survey 123 to report an incident. And the incident here is that even though he's fixing the audio video equipment, there's another issue in the conference room. Like maybe the projector has a bulb burned out that needs to be dealt with. It's not an immediate thing that needs to be dealt with, but it needs to be reported. So he's going to push the 311 button, and it's going to launch Survey 123 so that an incident can be reported. However, you can configure this system to not launch Survey 123, but launch your own asset management system, incident reporting system, work order management system, and it will feed it the locations of where you are. So let's see how it works when it's integrated with Survey 123. So if we push play, it launched Survey 123. We're going to open the browser version of Survey 123. And it fed it the geolocation, so you have the coordinate, and there you can see the coordinate on the map. It's an indoor coordinate. And it's also feeding it the building the issue's in, the floor, and the room. And then we just have to simply provide a title and an optional description. But as I mentioned, this doesn't have to be Survey 123. It could actually be a different application. And we publish the way we feed the URL parameters to Survey 123 such that you can actually have those URL parameters fed to your system so that you know the location information. And this feature is a nice way to provide your organizational users a way to crowdsource incident reporting or inspection information if you don't have a system already that supports doing that. So now let's transition over to ArcGIS Pro. So this system's not just about organizational users, operational users, or visitors. You know, we built capabilities to support the map maker in building the maps that actually power these systems. And so we're looking at ArcGIS Pro right now, and this is a CAD drawing that we drug into ArcGIS Pro, and we're going to show you the tool we actually use to actually turn that into a geodatabase-based floor plan. And so we're going to click the geoprocessing tool ribbon here, and you can see there's a floor plan to indoors tool that allows us to basically take this CAD drawing and load it into the ArcGIS Indoors information model. We won't make you watch that. We've already done it. So what we'll do is we'll open it up and show you what it looks like. It looks like just any other map, except that it supports, it's floor aware, so it supports multiple floors, and you're looking at the floor picker on the right-hand side that allows you to navigate between different floors. In addition to that, we provide tools that automatically generate an indoor network based on the floor plan that you loaded. And if we turn on that layer, you can actually see there's the pathways that are actually generated to support indoor navigation. And then with that, you can load in your own points of interest or auto-generate them. And they can be indoor points of interest or outdoor points of interest to support indoor or outdoor wayfinding. And so here we're backing out to show you the fact that, and I want to pause the video again, to show you that, and this is important to the integration story too, this network analyst network data set is natively supported by network analysts. So all of the network analyst SDKs support routing against it. There's nothing special to use that's ArcGIS Indoors specific. Again, as I mentioned before, ArcGIS Indoors just simply automatically generates this indoor network. And what you're looking at here is the ArcGIS Pro native ability to do multi-stop routing. So you're seeing a multi-stop route through the campus, and then this user here is going to click the right-hand side panel, and you can see there's turn-by-turn walking directions that Network Analyst is generating against the data set. As I mentioned, ArcGIS Indoors is a 2D and 3D system. So once you have a 2D map, you can run a rules engine against it that's provided that will generate the 3D data against your 2D data. And then these are the same maps that you use to publish out to power ArcGIS Indoors, whether it's a 3D scene or a 2D map. Okay. So that's the demonstrations. That's setting the groundwork to now talk about the integration pattern. So now that you know what ArcGIS Indoors is and you've seen it in motion, now let's talk about how we can actually integrate with it. So one of the key things we're working on our roadmap is integration with operational systems, such that you can see work orders, assets, and incidents on our indoor map, and then have our indoor mapping system support these operational workflows. And a list here are some of the partners we're currently working with, and some of them we're going to start talking to do more seamless integrations. But if you have a system like this, there are integration patterns that you can do to integrate your own system. And so let's dive into them. I have a slide for each one of these bullets here. So the first and obvious one is, well, we have indoor maps. Consume those indoor maps within your applications. And how do you do that? Well, ArcGIS Indoors also already needs you to publish these floor plan maps and the points of interest as map services. The Indoors information model is published. We have a data dictionary that comes with the user help. And it's really just a collection of feature classes, and there aren't too many of them. And there's attributes on them, and there's no special extension required to understand them. You can read them like you can any other feature layer in ArcGIS Enterprise. And so once you understand the information model, that there's a layer for a facility, which is a building, and it's a polygon layer. There's a layer for a level, which is a floor. It's another polygon. And then there's a layer for each individual unit or office, and it has its own attributes. And within those attributes, they relate back to each other. Once you understand that fundamental piece, reading the information model is pretty straightforward. And then you can deal with them as any other feature service or map service and consume them in your own applications. Now, one of the nuances that you want to understand is that the data that's published, you're looking at all floors simultaneously. So you do need to filter the data by the floor. So you need to provide a little control in your application to decide which floor the user is going to select, or automatically drive them to a specific floor depending on the use case that you're building into your application. And just filter by floor. And there's a column for floor on all of our features. So our units, our levels, they all have floor attributes that you can filter based on. Even our points of interest have a floor attribute. So you can filter it. And you can enhance your existing apps to build in these floor plan based maps, or you can build new custom apps. You don't need any special ArcGIS Indoors API. You can use the existing JavaScript API for ArcGIS to do this work. Again, these are just simple feature classes, simple feature layers. The other pattern of integration is to expose your data as feature services to ArcGIS Indoors. So if you have a work order management system, an asset management system, an incident management system, or anything like that, and you have location data with it that's granular enough to be indoors, or want to make it granular enough to be indoors so that you can integrate, you can build a feature service facade on top of your data. Either you can publish it out to feature services, or you can just build out the specification for the feature service REST endpoint and expose that data as feature services. And if you do that, the ArcGIS Indoors web and mobile applications can consume this data, and then it will be in these applications just as any other point of interest. And so you can plot them on a map, and you can navigate to them. The other pattern of integration is the deep linking. You remember when I demoed the 311 button, where you're at a location and you want to report an incident or you want to do an inspection, there's a 311 button, and that 311 button automatically launched Survey 123. However, you can configure it to launch your own application. When this button's pushed, there's a configuration of a URL, a web link that it will launch, and it will feed that web link parameters of the geolocation of where the issue is that's accurate indoors. It will say what building it's in, which floor it's on, and even what office or unit it's in, if it has an office or unit. And so if you have your own incident management system or work order management system where you want to put something into the system, an occupant user can simply push 311 within the ArcGIS Indoors application and simply launch into the other experience that may exist for this work order management system or asset management system. And then another pattern of integration, and one that's probably the simplest to do, is to actually integrate launching ArcGIS Indoors from within one of your applications. So if you have an asset management system or incident management system, and you have a coordinate of a location that you want to send the user to, or you know the office that you want to send them to, you can actually launch the web application or the mobile application by feeding it URL parameters of the location information, and then you'll instantly integrate an indoor map into your apps without even having to do anything other than launch another application. It's a quick and easy way to get indoor mapping into your existing solutions. But before I turn it over to you, Bo, there's one other pattern of integration I wanted to mention, and that is ArcGIS Indoors. If you understand the information model, you can build your own applications using the Indoors floor plan data and point of interest data. So as I mentioned, you can use the JavaScript APIs to do that, but you can also use the runtime APIs to do that. So that is a third pattern that I probably should have put a slide for, but thought I'd quickly mention it to you. But with that, those are the patterns of integration. I'm now going to turn it over to Bo, who's going to talk to you about Indoor Specialty Partners. Bo?
Great. Thanks, Will. And all right. And you can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really helpful to understand, Will. So thanks for kind of reviewing those different patterns of integration. And yeah, I think it would probably be interesting at some point also to go into more detail about building your own custom applications. But it's good to know that everybody can get started with this with a good understanding of the data model and our existing APIs and SDKs. With that said, I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing for partners such as you all in the audience today. We have an Indoors specialty that was just released, and we want to make it easy for folks to get started becoming an ArcGIS Indoors specialty partner. So the way we're doing that is that if you are interested in becoming an ArcGIS Indoors specialty partner, you gotta let us know. We would love to have folks out there such as yourselves, system integrators and small business specialty partners that are interested in exploring this realm of ArcGIS Indoors, indoor mapping, indoor positioning, and both delivering and customizing and integrating and extending our ArcGIS Indoors capabilities into a variety of new technologies. So we want to make it easy for you to get started with that. We want to provide you with a free demonstration and marketing license, which allows you to evaluate the software. You'll get your hands on the information model. You can start training employees and understanding kind of how the business model could work so that you can better complete your application for the specialty partner recognition. Now, you have to be in the process of applying for that indoor specialty partner in order to get that demo and marketing license. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. We do also have a development license, so if you're actually very interested in prototyping new solutions or custom applications, or potentially even developing your own off-the-shelf application, we do want to give you a license to do that. So we do have that on available, and inevitably what we'd really love if you are doing that is, again, for you to become that specialty partner, so that both other partners and our users are aware that you're up to speed on the best practices for indoors data management and product configuration patterns and things of that nature. So when you become an indoor specialty partner, that allows us to go to market collaboratively in order to deliver solution bundles and potentially allow you to even OEM indoors into your custom off-the-shelf application. So that's just something to keep in mind. And if you're looking to learn more information about ArcGIS Indoors in general, we highly recommend you join our social networks. But more importantly, we do have a webinar later this month, April 24th, from 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific. We'll be covering indoor positioning for ArcGIS Indoors. And you can register for that webinar today at go.esri.com/IPS. And with that, I believe we will begin taking some questions. So I'll turn it over to you, Anne.
Okay, thanks, Bo. Thanks, Bo and Will, for that great presentation on ArcGIS Indoors. It looks like a fabulous product. So as Will mentioned, just to make sure that everybody knows, it is available for customers and partners to use as of the end of April. So hope you'll check that out. So we do have a few questions that did come in. Will, you did mention this a little bit, but there is one question: is can we integrate with CityWorks?
The answer is actually at the first release, there are ways that it can be integrated, and then we are actively working with CityWorks right now. So at the next release before the user conference, there's more seamless integration of most of the patterns that I've just shown you before at the previous 4 slides. So integration can happen today. CityWorks does have a way to publish out its data as a feature service, and you can consume that in the Indoors application. And we're doing additional work to make it so that we can actually launch CityWorks from within our applications as part of the 311 button, and we're trying to make it more out of the box. So yes, we can do it today, and we're going to make it better by the next release.
Okay, thank you. We have another question. Is the device tracking leveraging Tracker app?
So in a sense. So well, actually, at the first release, the device tracking is actually using just simple feature services with a specific security model. And then at coming releases, we're going to be using the tracking service that the location tracker product just released at 10.7. And so we'll be using that at very coming releases in the near term. And in the long term, we'll be investigating portions of the workflow that would be taken over by a location tracker as we move the indoor positioning system support and floor-aware mapping support into the rest of the ArcGIS platform.
All right, thank you much. We have one other question here. Larson Design Group would be very interested in supporting and delivering ArcGIS Indoors. What would be the next steps for them to follow?
Oh.
Yeah, that's a great question. So as mentioned, I think you'll want to reach out to your partner manager and let them know that you're interested in pursuing this specialty. Now, you have to be an indoor specialty partner in order to be delivering indoor services, and then there are a variety of services to get folks started, right? We have to help them create the maps, we have to help them configure the apps, and in some cases we have to help them deploy and survey indoor positioning services. So there are a lot of opportunities for partners in that space, and we want to make sure that our other partners that may be collaborating on those projects, as well as our customers, have full commitment and understand that our partners are up to speed on all the best practices for all those things. So we'd want you to be joining as an indoor specialty partner, and you can access the application to that today through the partner portal. And I would say if you reach out to your partner manager and let them know that you're in the process of filling that application out and you'd like to get your hands on the demo and marketing license in order to better understand how you could participate in that and complete your application, we would be happy to help you out with that.
Okay, thanks, Bo. And Matthew, who sent me that question, if you don't know who your partner manager is, you can just email me, as the email right there is ajacob@esri.com, and I can help you with that. So do we have any other questions coming in? I don't think there's any more. I'll wait a few seconds here in case there is. And while I'm waiting, I just want to point out that this link here, esri.com National Gov Partners, is our website for looking at what's available for new workshops and webinars, and I just updated that today for a couple new ones that are coming on. So check that out, periodically, and because we are holding many different webinars and workshops throughout the year. So, and other events as well, like the big UC that's coming up. So if there's no more questions, doesn't look like, we will wrap up. And I thank everybody for joining. If you do have any other questions to ask, or if you would like the recording to this webinar, just email me as well. I will convert that at the end of this and send that off to you. So thank you very much, everybody, and have a great day.